Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Expat Chef. I'm Matt. Living in Barcelona is fantastic. Amazing food, wonderful weather, and extremely friendly and welcoming people. It's only been a few months, but I am already loving it. But as much as I am loving it, it's still nice to get away once in a while, so Denise and I decided we'd plan a little trip to explore a new country. We headed south down the coast to Tarragona, or as the locals would call it, Tarragona. But since my Spanish accent clearly still needs a lot of work, I'm just going to stick with Tarragona. Anyway, if my old-timey projector survived the move from London, I can show you some of my pictures and movies. Give me just a second. Okay, got that all set up? Let's go to Tarragona. Tarragona is the oldest Roman city on the Iberian Peninsula, with a mention as early as 218 BC, when it was known as Tarraco. Augustus Caesar visited in 27 BC, and after that, the city boomed. After the fall of the Romans, Tarragona changed masters many times, ranging from the Vandals to the Visigoths, the Moors, the French, the British, the Portuguese, and even the Dutch. Through all those changing of hands, though, and including the Spanish Civil War, 2,000 years after its founding, Tarragona still has one of the most extensive collection of Roman ruins in all of Spain. Tarragona is less than 90 minutes away from Barcelona by train, and when round-trip train tickets cost only 17 euros, it's totally worth the visit. We arrived early so that we could see as many sites as possible before checking into our hotel. The town has Roman ruins everywhere. But the main thing we wanted to see first was the amphitheater, which has some of the choicest property in the entire town right there along the beach waterfront. While not as large as the Colosseum in Rome, the Tarragona amphitheater was just as impressive, especially considering the beautiful views. As with everything Roman though, the amphitheater eventually morphed into multiple other uses, including, most notably, a church in the 6th century. That little pink spot on the horizon? That's Denise. Next on our tour of Roman ruins were the remnants of the circus, which today we would call a racetrack. Not much of the circus is visible above ground anymore, as it took up a lot of space, which meant that the city planners through the ages needed the space for other things. But below ground, the circus was very impressive. In fact, it's one of the best preserved circuses in all of Western Europe. The tunnels that originally ran beneath the track and the seating still exist today and are in remarkable condition. There was so much space underneath the circus that the city used it as a museum for several pieces uncovered near here. Connected to the circus was a massive tower, which was along the edge of the former provincial forum. This massive tower was at one point converted into a castle for the local king. This tower was tall, and it had more stairs to climb than our flat back in Barcelona. But once at the top, the view was worth it. After visiting the tower, we walked through the neighboring Plaza del Rey, where I was able to get my first artsy shot of the weekend. From Plaza del Rey, we headed over to the old city walls. It's less of a walk along the walls though, and more like a walk through a very beautiful garden at the base of the walls. But who's complaining? And I got to pick up my second artsy shot of the day. By this time we were ready for something a little bit more modern, so we left the wall walk garden to go check out the Cathedral. And when I say more modern, I mean something that's about 1,300 years newer. This cathedral is still plenty old, nearly 900 years old. It opened in 1170. Seeing all of these sights wiped us out, so it was time to head back to the hotel and get ready for the next day. After a quick morning coffee, it was off to the beach. I've never been much of a beach person, but we recently bought this very cool little pop-up tent that gives us plenty of shade and a safe place to keep our stuff. Once the hard work of setting up the tent was done, I went for a quick cool off. We hung out on the beach most of the morning until early afternoon when it was time to head back to the hotel, get cleaned up, and head to lunch. Hey, is that Jason Statham coming out of the water? Nope, it's just me. After lunch, we wandered around town again, taking in the other sights we missed the day before, including the wall remnants used as a backdrop for a weekend market. We also ran across this massive wall mural painted onto the side of an entire building. Tarragona has a Ramblas of its own, like Barcelona, and at the end of it, there's a massive statue in honor of the Castellers, or people stackers, as I like to call them. This is a big thing here in Catalonia. There are rules and regulations, and each team of people stackers has to have its own band, too. My third artsy shot of the weekend, this time of a cool water fountain with a newsstand and some colorful graffiti. After all this walking around, we were tired and hungry. So when we saw this sign, we knew it was time for a break. We ended up hanging out at this restaurant for a couple hours, including for dinner. For our last day in Tarragona, we decided to take a small road trip within our road trip. But first, on the way, we stopped to see the ancient Roman Forum dating from about 30 BC, roughly about the same time Augustus visited. If you can believe it, these ancient ruins are surrounded on all sides by modern apartment buildings placed right up next to the edge of the Forum. Hey, another artsy shot, number 4. Here's Denise pretending to be Augustus Caesar. And here's Denise telling me it's time to put the camera away. We caught a local bus and rode about 30 minutes outside of Tarragona to the aqueduct, called El Pont de Diablo, or Devil's Bridge. It was built over the span of about 45 years, from 27 BC, when Augustus visited, to about 15 AD. It was used to carry all the water to Tarragona from the nearby Francoli River. The approach to the aqueduct was stunning. It just sort of appears out of the trees. Visitors were permitted to walk across the aqueduct to the other side, across the valley. It gave you a good sense of just how high it was, even considering the original top layer was long gone. Whoa, another artsy shot. What is this, number 5? I'm on a roll. After visiting the aqueduct, we rode back to Tarragona to visit one last place, a neighborhood known for its seafood, El Serrallo. It's a little neighborhood along the docks where all the seafood comes in each day, and the neighborhood is just jammed with little bars and fantastic seafood restaurants. You'd think that a dockside neighborhood might be a little gritty, but El Serrallo was very elegant, modern, and clean. Check out these amazing fountains with their little sculptures. We finally sat down for lunch, and I had my first paella since moving to Spain. Oh, wait. Sorry, what's that? I'm being told that apparently in Catalonia it's not called paella. It's just called rice. Paella comes from Valencia. Okay, well, that may be so, but if it looks like paella, smells like paella, and tastes like paella, well, I'm just saying. And so, full of delicious non-paella paella, we walked back to the train station and caught our ride back to Barcelona and home. Tarragona was a delightful little town and a fun getaway trip. The ancient Roman ruins drew us there, but just like the rest of Spain, what we really loved was all the food, the sun, and the people. So the next time you're in Catalonia, make sure you set aside a day or two to visit Tarragona.